Well, thank you very much. Let's open it up. The microphone. Jean-Luc raised his hand first.
Yeah, thank you. Jean-Luc Marais, Fondation for Strategique Research. I would like to have your opinion, both of you, about what I perceive as a very sensitive issues, the humanitarian consequences of exit strategy. If I look about what happened in Algeria in 1962 with the French pullout, or for the Brits, or the Vietnam in the mid-70s, we could face something very sensitive in Iraq and in Afghanistan. So maybe we could have sort of cynical collateral damages, or let's say a new wave of American citizenship. So what do you think about that? Do you think we're going to face, what's going to happen for all of these local staffers who work for US and NATO allies in Afghanistan and in Iraq? Thanks.
You want to start, Susanne?
I didn't think about what happens to the people that work with the Americans. So, I think I've touched on the fact that I think that the way we are constructing the exit strategy right now in Afghanistan will, in my opinion, have consequences. Historically, you probably could actually look at and know what happened after the words withdrew and then what happened to those militias. So I think there is actually a cost to the exit strategy. There's a cost that part of the exit strategy is rearming. I mean, right now, those local police are being armed with Kalashnikovs. I mean, here we had a failed DDR, and now we're bringing new weapons in. And in some areas, as we've seen, actually more weapons than they ideally need. So I think there is a cost. I've never thought about what will happen what I've worked with military who are clearly seen as collaborators, what the Taliban is targeting. So I'm not sure there is actually political will to move them and resettle them to the U.S. I don't know. I've heard individual cases. So what more likely is going to happen that either because of through their family linkages that a lot of families spread their risks by having either or. Some work for the military, some may work for an NGO, some may work somewhere with the insurgency. It's very, very hard because of long extended family links that they get their protection like that. Others are just simply killed. I mean, that's what's happening of areas that the military clears and can't hold. You cannot give protection to everybody. So I think people are right now hedging their bets anyways. They're sitting on the fence. They're usually trying to talk to both sides to prepare for what may come after. I just doubt that there is anything in place, but I mean, I could be told otherwise of bringing those people overseas. I just don't think so.
Another question here?
Yeah.
Wait for the microphone, please. Thank you.
Ken Meyer, World Talks. Oh, okay. Of our two sets of refugees, Iraqis and Afghanis, who do they blame for their displacement?
Now or?
It's a good question.
Right now, as I say, we just recently had a workshop with women who you may think they're most neutral, they're less politically about it. And we've asked them who brings conflict to communities. And unfortunately, you had up there the Afghan government, the insurgency, and ISAF, NATO, parallel, with tribal conflict. So they were pretty much all evenly blamed for displacement. So they actually would blame, some people saying because they become between a rock and a hard place, between international and national security forces and the insurgency. So they would probably dually blame. I don't think they see either or. So.
And in Iraq?
I'll go back to Jean-Luc's question first. Unlike Afghanistan, in Iraq, already since 2006, 2007 more exactly, the US has put in place a special program to fast-track the resettlement of people who have been working with the American forces or with American companies in Iraq. Because when violence developed as of 2006, they were targeted. I mean, they were among the first ones to be targeted. Interpreters, but also contractors or what have you. I mean, people who had worked with Americans. And so this program has brought a large number of Iraqis to the States. Outside of the other resettlement program that is taking people in once they have been granted refugee status by UNHCR in neighboring countries. This program is going to go on as the MNFI. I know, you think that it's completely unfair, Susan, with me, I know. Another thing which is completely, different is that in Iraq, although, I don't mean to say at all that security has been restored, but the level of security is still better than the one in Afghanistan. Yet UNHCR does not promote the return of refugees, whereas in the Afghan case, the return of refugees is being promoted. But okay, so there is a system in place which is going to be kept as, there are still about 5,000 American troops which are supposed to stay in Iraq. But the system is going to continue. Also, another thing is you never know how the situation will evolve. I'm not a strategic studies specialist, unlike you, so you would analyze this better than me. But a lot of the groups and the militias that were suspected of being behind the killings of these collaborators with the Americans at the time have now become part of the political process. So, there are also less risks. I would say, it's probably not a major risk